What's up, y'all? It's BL. Today is January 26, 2021. I really appreciate y'all making the time to hear me today. This is the second full-length podcast like this. Like I said in the first one, I'm still very much in the beginning stages of building this whole thing, so that's why I'm only on YouTube right now, but I'm very active on Twitter, Instagram, I blog on Wix.com, and the links and handles for that will be in this video and in the description. My profile pic that I'm using as an emblem or a logo for this brand at the moment is Kobe Bryant's head on the Nothing Was the Same album cover. Again, if you know who the rightful creator of this and owner of this picture is, just let me know and I will cease to use it this way. No problems about it. Getting right into it, today being the 26th, it's been a year since Kobe Bryant, his daughter, and several others died in a tragic accident. It feels like it was just yesterday, which is crazy because all I've been saying is how long 2020 felt. But Kobe was my second athlete I really loved coming up. The first was Steve Smith, receiver for the Panthers, who was my favorite football team. But he was the first athlete that I really identified myself with as a young guy coming up. You can ask people who know me growing up whenever I played basketball. I did my best Kobe Bryant impression every single time. I shot like him. I did his, well, not exactly like him, obviously, but I was just impersonating him the whole time. He's the reason why I love the Lakers. He's the reason why I ever got into basketball at all. I never played it too much, but he's the reason why I love it. I watch it. I play it leisurely sometimes. I never really paid much attention to the sport compared to football until Kobe was really out of his prime at that point. But I did see his last year, 2012, 2013, still in his prime. I tell the story all the time. When I was in fifth grade, it was the year Kobe played with Dwight Howard and Steve Nash. And to this day, I have never been more invested in the NBA season than I was that year. I was 10 years old, so I had a bedtime on school nights. That was often before the LA games came on. So before the bus came and got me at 6:30 in the morning, I would watch the Laker games that I recorded the night before to make sure that we weren't losing traction with the Jazz, I think it was, for the eighth seed in the West. And lucky for me, that was Kobe's last year in his prime, but it was definitely Kobe's prime. He was 34 years old, if I remember correctly. He had no hair on his head. He had a baggy 24 jersey on every game and long pants with low Kobe 7s or Kobe 8s on every night, and giving everybody 20, I think it was 27, 6 and 5 or something crazy like that at 34 years old. And he was dunking on people. He was double pump clutching threes late in the game and carrying this injury-riddled Lakers team to wins over younger, more spry teams like the Hornets or the Raptors, or just teams that had a lot more young talent against this old injury-riddled team. And he did it, man. Like, he got him to the eighth seed, but he tore his Achilles before the playoffs began, and he never played in the playoffs, and he was really never the same after that. So naturally after that, as I grew older and he was no longer a great player in his prime, I learned more and more about who Kobe was and what was happening before I started paying attention in the early late 90s and then throughout the 2000s. And I learned about how he didn't always want to be in Los Angeles, how he wanted to get traded a couple of times, how he wasn't always the quote-unquote best teammate. And I really just in the last 5 years coming to terms with the fact that LeBron is a better and greater player than Kobe after arguing with my brother about it for years. But what else I got to understand about Kobe was why he attracted me so much. I learned about his bilingual European, I think it was Italian childhood, his ruthless work ethic and how hard he worked himself and what he demanded out of his teammates, how cerebral he was outside of basketball. He was inspired by Bruce Lee and Michael Jackson and didn't box himself into sports, even though that was obviously his passion. And then obviously how proud being a father made him, how seriously this alpha man or the alpha man of all alphas, he took his four daughters, how seriously he took that, and how much he loved all four of them, how inspiring and persevering his marriage was with Vanessa, he was just a great man. Such a full presence. I never met him. I never even got into a game that he played in, but I imagine like spending time with him, just spending 15 minutes talking to him, speaking with him, would have been as valuable as an exchange if I've ever had. I miss him, and my love to all those that were lost a year ago today. Onward with the NFL playoffs that continued this past weekend. This past Sunday was the NFC and AFC championship games. I really don't participate in cliches, especially instinctively. Like, I'm a romantic, so I may employ it in a romantic situation, but usually not. But when I was watching the Packers and Bucks game this past Sunday for the NFC championship, I couldn't take my eyes off the screen when the ball was live. It was Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers. If they had the ball in their hands, I was locked in. I don't remember if it was when Aaron had the ball. It was probably when Aaron had the ball, like in the fourth quarter. And I was just envisioning the most gratifying way the game could end for me personally. I was thinking like Aaron was going to win the NFC championship in Lambeau Field against Tom Brady. This is going to be amazing. And while the game was still in the balance, I outwardly said, I was like, I love football. I can't remember the last time I actually said that out of my mouth. Obviously, I play football. I'm in college. I play football, and I love the game. I talk about it a lot, and I play it. But I can't remember the last time I outwardly said, oh my, nobody asked me a question. I was just, oh my gosh, I love football. And then Aaron and the Packers lost, and I was absolutely distraught. Not because I'm a Packers fan or because I have a vicarious allegiance to Aaron Rodgers, but because it came over me once again that one man had a near monopoly on championships in the American sport I believe is the hardest to win championships in comparison with other pro sports, of course. In basketball, the team with the most good players playing will almost always win the championship. In baseball, I'm sure it's deeper than that, but I don't cover baseball, and even then, I don't think I would be biased in my assessment that pro football has more layers to it organizationally than baseball. And Tom Brady is advancing to his 10th Super Bowl. If you know me, you know I have been obsessed with the history of the NFL since I was like 9. I watched NFL Network more than I watched Nickelodeon. I asked for NFL history, Sports Illustrated books for Christmas, and I love the Super Bowl. I have a favorite Super Bowl, Super Bowl 23 in 1989. I love the Super Bowl because football is so entrenched in our fabric as contemporary Americans that when our regional team wins, it's like colossal for us as a community. It's like a collective victory that is forever. And it means more to some cities than other cities, sure. But if somehow like Cleveland wins a Super Bowl with Baker Mayfield as their QB, I guarantee you it will mean twice as much as when LeBron James won a finals there in 2016. And like, I know that sounds crazy, and I believe that that's the most important NBA championship for any city, that Cleveland win in 2016. That's how much Super Bowls mean, even championships games. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Jaguar fans still talk about when Mark Brunell and Jimmy Smith and Keenan McCardell made the AFC championship in like the late 90s, or when the Chargers made it in 07 with Phillip Rivers. Question like why does it matter so much? Because it's so hard to be good in football, and that's why I love it so much. It's so hard for everyone except for Tom Brady. Like, Tom Brady has made the Super Bowl 10 times. 5 of the last 7 Super Bowls have included Tom Brady. That is unbelievably great and even more infuriating. I mean, I hated watching the Warriors in 5 straight finals after the first few, but it was okay because for the most part, the NBA is the same 7 players in the finals every year. I mean, I've learned to accept it and appreciate that part, and it makes sense with the nature of the game, like I just said. But the NFL is supposed to be the league where you can have new teams competing each year and winning the conference, if not the whole thing, new people each year. At least that's how it was before Tom Brady in the AFC and now the NFC. There should not be anyone bigger than football. That's not how football works. It's the team sport of team sports. Like LeBron can go to 16 straight finals because Kobe and Duncan did it, and Jordan did it, and Bill Russell and Jerry West did it. That's the nature of that game. The most anyone has come to what Tom Brady has done is the Bills in the 90s, and they lost them all. They went to 4 straight and lost them all. I think the Steelers won 4 in 6 years in the 70s, but at least that was just 4. Like, this is not how it's supposed to go. Like, I'm hating. I don't care. I hate it. He's greater than everyone else, and I'm not excited about it. He's the king of the Super Bowl. It's unbelievable. I fear what would happen on Sunday for a couple of reasons, because I would have to see Tampa in the Super Bowl. I'm a Panther fan because Tom Brady's there again. Because I would not see the Packers in it, I lean toward watching Aaron Rodgers over Tom Brady. And like, regardless of how the Packers lost and Tampa and Tom Brady won, like, I knew I would have to come in and say this. Aaron Rodgers is not as great as I thought he was. Before you call me a hypocrite or a prisoner of the moment or a casual, please hear me out. I used to think Aaron Rodgers was just as great as anyone who had ever lived, and better than anyone who had ever lived. Greater and better. If you don't know how I distinguish greatest and best, best has less to do with results and more to do with eye test, and greatness has almost everything to do with results and more to do with like skill and what I see. For example, I think LeBron is the best player of all time, but objectively speaking, Michael Jordan is the GOAT, even though I think that has more to do with public opinion, but you know what I mean. I still believe Aaron Rodgers is as great as anyone other than Tom Brady and Joe Montana. But before this weekend, I thought Aaron Rodgers was in a class by himself, in between Tom and Joe, and underneath Tom and Joe, and above Dan Marino, John Elway, and even Peyton Manning. He had that Super Bowl, which is the vindication, the qualifier for being a great quarterback. You have at least one Super Bowl. And he also had the multiple MVPs and the sustained excellence. And I was so sure that he would win against Tom Brady at home, finally get to another Super Bowl, which I was ready to take him in, whoever they played. They played the Bills, they played the Chiefs. I was ready to take Aaron Rodgers in that game because I thought he was that great, even against Patrick Mahomes. And Aaron didn't do that. We will get into exactly how that happened in a moment, but the bottom line is Aaron's team is not the team who won the NFC Championship for the 10th straight time. It's been 10 years since his team has been the one coming out of the NFC. He lost that game. He lost that game for the 4th straight time. And as I watched Chris Godwin run for that first down to end the game, I thought to myself, this actually happens more time than not. Aaron Rodgers is 7-8 in his last 15 playoff games since Super Bowl 45. And this is the crux of what I'm saying. I'm not saying all this to slight Aaron Rodgers. Because other than Tom Brady, what quarterback has had more playoff success than Aaron Rodgers over the past 10 years? Not Russell Wilson. He went to 2 Super Bowls in 2 years and hasn't been to a conference championship since. Mahomes, maybe, but he's only played 3 years, and when it's all said and done, he may end up being greater than Brady. I'll talk about that here soon. The reality is, again, winning in the playoffs is hard. It's really hard. Drew Brees went to 1 before Aaron Rodgers went to 1 and never got back. Dan Marino went to 1 his second year, never got back. Brett Favre went to 1 in the late 90s, never got back. Russell Wilson was lucky to go to 2 in his first 3 years. He hasn't made a championship game since. Winning in the playoffs is really, 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 really hard. That is how much greater Tom Brady is than everybody else. And I was wrong for thinking Aaron Rodgers is any different from the field. But let's talk about the game. I thought this game would be brilliant, and it was. Not the outcome that I wanted, but we were promised Brady, Rodgers, and we got Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. The question immediately became after the game, who was to blame for the loss? Is it Aaron Rodgers or is it Matt LaFleur, the coach? Like I said, I watched every bit of it, and there is a little... I hope there's not a hindsight bias on my part as I try to relay to you what my thoughts were throughout the whole game. So in the first quarter, I was thinking, Tom Brady is playing well in the first quarter of a big game. This never happens. This is kind of odd. And Aaron Rodgers is getting sacked and isn't buying time as easily as he did last week against the Rams. And then in the second quarter, I'm thinking both of these defenses are coming to play, but it looks like the Bucs are taking it to Green Bay a little bit harder. I mean, Aaron Jones, I think, fumbled, and then Robert Tonyan recovered it. They were hitting Green Bay hard, and then Aaron Rodgers threw a pick. Aaron Rodgers threw a pick. Like, that's also odd. And then after the Scotty Miller touchdown, I'm like, oh, I see. I feel like I'm able to like kind of see how the script is going, because most NFL games are really just carbon copies of other NFL games. And I was like, okay, they're setting up the comeback runway. I think it was 21-10 at that point for Aaron Rodgers to come back. The comeback wouldn't be out of the question at this point. He's going to be the hero, and it's going to be great. And in the third quarter, I'm like, okay, Tom is throwing picks. This is exactly how you spell a comeback for Aaron. And in the fourth quarter, Tom Brady is still throwing picks, but the Packers aren't turning them into points. And then Tom Brady just threw another pick. Definitely 3-pick. No, they didn't convert that one either. And after, I don't know if it was a Lazard, I think it was Lazard. It was a questionable PI call there too, and it was third and long, and Lazard dropped the ball. And I thought to myself, oh, this game is over. This game might be over. The Packers didn't lose because they chose to kick a field goal instead of go for it on 4th and goal inside the 10, needing 8 with all 3 of your timeouts and Tom Brady playing like Jake Delhomme on the other side. They lost the game because they won the turnover battle 3-2 and lost in points off turnovers 14-6. I call more into question the decision to go for 2 after the earlier touchdown, or not trying to establish a good run game like they did last week. I love the Packers play calling last week because you took the burden off of Aaron. I don't know if they wanted to make it a Tom versus Aaron thing, but no matter what, the Packers wanted to win that game because of Aaron Rodgers on Sunday. And I'm not sure that was the best way. They lost that game in the second and third quarters, not in the fourth quarter. I know what the talk is. It would have been, if they would have went for it and didn't get it, and Tampa did the same thing they did after they kicked the field goal, it would have been, oh, you played such good defense on Brady the whole half, and now you're scared of him? Your defense got 3 picks. Why are you going for it on 4th down? I was talking to multiple people during the game, and I said it then and there, I was like, this is an extremely tough call to make at this point. And I was like, I mean, yeah, kick the field goal. I mean, get your points. I was expecting them to stop Tampa too. And if not for the pass interference call, which was pass interference, but not totally, it was inconsistent with what they were calling all game. And in the most crucial moment and late, they would have got the ball back. Down 5. Don't need a 2-point conversion. People are saying, oh, you have to put the ball in Aaron Rodgers' hands inside the 10-yard line. He's the MVP, blah, blah, blah. And maybe you do at that point. But you can't act like the Bucs defense didn't have them on clamps in the red zone the whole game. Green Bay was spreading it out down there, and them DBs was dominating them receivers. They wasn't getting off the line clean. All the great red zone players from the regular season was not working. And it wasn't all because of the play calling either. You know, Colin Cowherd said it best. All I know is Tom Brady wins those games a lot, and Aaron Rodgers doesn't. That's just the difference. And that's not just Sunday. That's over the course of both their careers. Aaron Rodgers is clutch. I believe he is clutch. But Tom Brady's team beat yours, and I'm pretty sure most people believed you would win coming in. At some point, you have to be able to elevate your team past mistakes, and no one has done that as well as Tom Brady has. I'm just so upset. I was so upset after that game. I wanted a Packers-Chiefs game so bad in the Super Bowl. Aaron and Pat have never played against each other before. This is the real game. I wanted to see the two best, most talented at the position ever. The winner of that game would almost certainly have that title forever. And it's just, now it's, I mean, Tampa and Kansas City will be a great game, sure, but it's just not what I wanted to see at all. Speaking of Patrick Mahomes, they manhandled Buffalo. I was worried about the wrong team before Sunday. I should have been worried about Green Bay, and I was a little iffy on Kansas City, and I was just writing Green Bay in there, and I was like, is Kansas City going to be able to take Buffalo? I should have been worried about Green Bay. But as devastating as Tom Brady and the Patriots were to parity in the AFC over the past 20 years, now the NFC, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs seem to be ushering in the new edition of it. I recently started watching Star Wars. The first 3 Star Wars movies, A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and my favorite was Return of the Jedi. When Luke Skywalker was trying to convince his father, Darth Vader, to turn from his evil ways. Sorry if that's a spoiler. You're 40 years late. But he was trying to convince Darth Vader to turn from his evil ways, but he's also trying to deny the evil within himself. And I feel like that's kind of similar to Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady right now. Patrick is our only hope from the evil empire that is Tom Brady over the parity and sovereignty of the NFL over any one player. Patrick has the ability to be like Luke, to slay Tom Brady, not once and for all, but maybe enough to diminish his reign a little bit. But then I fear that Patrick Mahomes may have an evil on his own inside of him, that he wants to now own the Super Bowl for the next 15 years. And by all signs, it looks like he's apt to do so. That offense is just a machine. I honestly don't know how you defend that offense. I don't know what you can do. I don't know what you can do. Now, like, in all seriousness, nothing that either of these two men have accomplished is evil or ill-natured toward the integrity of the game. I'm just a fan complaining. As long as they strap up and abide by the rules, they're well within their right to win the Super Bowl every year, which they have shown us they can darn near accomplish. But as crazy as Tom Brady's dominance has been, Patrick Mahomes has the chance to be greater than him. Usually, if someone asks if someone can be greater than Tom Brady or Michael Jordan, I'm like, no. Like, if they've been in the league for a considerable amount of time and they don't have multiple, if not several championships already, they're already behind the 8 ball. But Mahomes is a 4th-year player and has his chance to win his second Super Bowl in 2 weeks. That's on the trajectory. That's on the trajectory. What was Tom Brady? 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003. He only had 2 championships. He's on the trajectory. Would I bet on him winning 6 and going to 10? No. Even now, I wouldn't bet on that. It's just so hard to do to even think about doing that, to even think about replicating what New England had. And obviously, it hasn't just been Tom Brady. Obviously, he had the best coach of all time too. Andy Reid isn't a slouch, but he's no Bill Belichick. And I'm sure no one in New England expected this success 20 years ago. But they prepared for it and worked like it, but I don't think they planned for it to happen as amazingly as it did. Let me know how y'all feel about these games this weekend. Your predictions for Super Bowl 55, is it? Dang, it's crazy. 55. I'm looking forward to feedback from any of my followers. I appreciate all of you who made it through the video, and I'll see y'all in the next one.